Welcome to the Animation Industry Podcast. My name is Terry, and I spent the entire day bedazzling a pair of leather gloves because I thought they would look cool, and they do. Today's chat is with a stop-motion animator who is in South Korea, and his name is Chris Rodgers. Chris and I actually met because we were both featured in a WEDU Arts Plus documentary featuring stop-motion animators a little while ago, and I just decided to interview Chris because I saw his work and thought it was amazing, and I'm really happy I did because this is a really great chat. Now, over the years, Chris has had the opportunity to work on some really amazing projects like the Frederator title sequence, the Lego movie credits, and Big Five, a Korean kids show. In our chat, Chris shares what compelled him to pack up his bags in the States and cross the ocean to work in stop motion in South Korea, and how he's building a stop motion studio there now. But before we begin, this episode is sponsored by Hue, makers of colorful plug-and-play cameras for learning, work, and play. Originally designed for teachers, Hue cameras can also be used for creative activities such as capturing hand-drawn pencil tests and shooting behind-the-scenes footage, time-lapse videos, and stop-motion animation. The cameras have flexible posable necks, manual focus controls, and they're compatible with Dragonframe, OBS, Twitch, Zoom, and many other camera apps. Visit huehd.com to learn more and follow @HueCameras on social media for news, fun, and giveaways. And as an extra special giveaway for a limited time only, search for the Hue HD Pro camera on Amazon.com for 10% off with code 10TerryAIP. That's 10, my name Terry, and AIP as an Animation Industry Podcast. And that is starting today, June 21st, and ending Tuesday, July 19th. So please check them out. Get a cute discount from me and enjoy your Hue camera. Now, without further ado, let's jump into the chat. Hi, Chris. Thank you for joining me from South Korea at 5 in the morning.
Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you, Terry, for having me on.
Of course. As soon as I saw your work, I immediately wanted to bring you on, especially because you're in South Korea and I know nothing about stop motion in South Korea. So before we get into it, why did you want to come on this podcast? I never asked that of anybody. I'm curious. I just never
actually,
asked that
you contacted me and then I kind of did some research on what you were doing. And I really liked the work that you were doing with the podcast. I thought it was cool. I didn't know if I would be even worthy of being on it.
Oh my goodness.
99%
of the people that come on this chat say those exact words. I don't know if I'm worthy. And then I have to convince them that they're good enough. And then we chat.
Well, stop motion animators were like, me especially being in Korea, it's like I'm in a house studio, so I don't see people all that much. So it's like, I don't know what people are thinking. Yeah.
Well, welcome to being seen by so many people suddenly.
Yeah.
So okay. So you thought this was like a cool thing to come on. Is there something that is there a goal you have of what you want to share or a reason come on that would be amazing to share or something like?
Yeah, just kind of talk about what's happening here and in Korea, and like the projects I'm working on now, and that type of thing.
Yeah. So what are you? Well, you like 5 minutes before we started, you told me what you're working on, which I'm super interested because I'm doing something similar myself, but you're doing the opposite route. Tell me what you're working on.
So right now, I am working with the Seattle artist Ryan Henry Ward. He goes by Henry. He's a mural painter, and he's got his own shop where he sells his like paintings, and he makes all these like really awesome like whimsical characters, and we're working together to turn them into stop motion animated shorts, and the goal is to create a series, and long-term goal is to create a feature film eventually. So yeah, it's big goals, and part of that comes with me being in Korea is that I worked for a studio here for 5 years, and I'm independent now, and my goal is to kind of build up and create a studio here. That's what I
Yeah.
would like to do, work with the Koreans, my
Interesting. So
friends
you
here.
you see
Yeah.
this project as kind of like an instigating project to start a studio and build something off of.
Yeah, it's happening. That's what's happening. You know, it's like
So
I've
it
got
is
to,
happening. It's
yeah.
as we speak. Like it's
Yeah.
5 a.m. As soon as you're done, you're gonna go build a studio.
Well, I'm the animation is happening, and the process is happening. I have right now, it's kind of divided up where I have some friends that have their own little studio, and they're making puppets and doing animation on their own projects as well. And so yeah, like it's a, and maybe I'll help them on things, and they're helping me on this particular project.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. So you've already character designed and you're creating puppets and starting to animate
Yes.
Henry's designs specifically.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
did you end up meeting Henry when he's in Seattle and you're in South Korea? Like that
Oh,
seems like a very long stretch to make a connection.
yeah. Well, I lived in Seattle before I moved to Korea, and I had I ran an animation studio there, and yeah, we had met from a mutual friend and hit it off, and did a project together where we did like 2D cutouts of his characters, animation project, and so that kind of like got me sort of thinking. Back then we had talked about doing something more, and like it just over time, time had passed, and once I became independent here, not working for the studio, my mind was kind of clearing out, and I was thinking, who can I work with? Like, what if I wanted to do? I wanted to create a series. I wanted to work with like artists that already have characters that I like and would love to like bring them to life through stop motion. So like, throughout my animation career, I've met other artists. I'm like, hey, these characters are awesome. Let's, let's make something with them. And he's been one of the artists that has been receptive to that. Not everybody is. Some people are very like standoffish and think that I'm like, trying to like take their characters or something crazy. I've heard all kinds of stuff, but yeah. So there was a fall last year, I was thinking about this, and I had met a guy online, and we were in negotiations talking about animating his characters. And then I was like, why don't I contact Ryan? I haven't talked to him in a while, and see what happens. Just say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Let's do something. And when I contacted him, he was like, dude, let's roll. And like after that call, it was immediate. Like, and we've been going since then.
Amazing. So, okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's super cool and interesting. And, you have these two different people in two different countries, like coming together to like make a TV show. I'm just wondering, if I were to start a studio and try to hire people and get work, I would probably, if I were to do this myself, I'd probably start with like getting in touch with agencies and commercial and do like commercial work and try to get something that's more immediately lucrative, I guess, instead of not like lucrative and like, somebody's paying me for service work versus like start from scratch and try to make a TV show and hope that it takes off. Like, what was your decision to use this project as kind of this way to build a studio rather than take service work and build it that way and then come to projects like this, like a lot of studios do?
I'm doing a little bit of that. Like, that's how I kind of started. Exactly what you talked about when I was in Seattle. That was kind of always my goal, was to create a studio and have my own space and like be working with other people and working with other artists. And so, yeah, like how I created that was working for doing commercial work and music videos and getting, on some documentary film work. So I was always, I was reaching out to agencies and people all the time, and looking online for anybody who's looking for stop motion, jobs. that they were posting about, like, for
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
So like, okay, so how are you expecting to get funding for this project? Because, like, there's the traditional route of partnering with a production company or a
Mhm.
broadcaster and getting development funds that way. But as far as I understand, you don't want to go that route. So I'm curious as to how you
Yeah,
plan to do this.
well, right now, Ryan is kind of funding this getting started. And that's that really allows me a lot of freedom right now to, like, just kind of do what we want to do. And kind of think about the stories and sort of develop it and go where we want to go with it. And, as far as not wanting to be with the studios, it's like we're curious and we want to see if we can make an independent project and see if we can get, like, just like private investors in it. And he's got a lot of fans. He's really popular in the Pacific Northwest and other parts of the US. So, like, we think that there's a lot of potential to just stay independent. We're pretty
Yeah.
excited and confident about that. He's got an amazing library of characters and library body of work, and, like, yeah, we're excited to, like, take it to the next level now.
Nice. So where do you see it end up being? Is it on traditional TV? Is it a web series? Is it something different?
Yeah, I think if we're staying independent, we would like it to just be kind of like something that's on, like, YouTube or
Yeah.
something similar. Yeah, we'd like to start a show on there and keep it going. And and we may do a short, and we're talking about potential ways of raising money, like doing a Kickstarter or a Patreon thing that could be kind of like an ongoing support page. Yeah, and then if things pick up with YouTube and we can just do it from the subscribers on there, then what we can make on there, that would be great. I'm not, we're very optimistic. We don't really know how things are going to go, but if we can get into, like, something like Netflix or get picked up by Cartoon Network down the road, we wouldn't say no. It would just need to be the right
Totally. Well,
scenario for
if you're
us.
self-producing this series, you will own it as a package, and then you can sell it to, you can make those connections with broadcasters and streamers and sell it as a package to them.
Mhm.
So that might work too, like I think it's super cool that you're self-funding this, because a lot of series, and myself included with what I'm trying to do, it doesn't take off until it gets funding. But you're saying, and I've talked to other people who have, self-produced something and then Amazon picks it up or whatnot down the
Yeah.
road, because it's a proof of concept and people like it already and it exists, and they don't have to invest in development because you've already done that. So I think that's
Yeah,
super
that's what
cool.
we're kind of doing. That's the beauty to me in, like, with working with other artists that already have their characters established. It's
Yeah.
like it just lends itself to say, hey, look at this is what we're trying to do. These are the characters we're trying to use, and this is our basic idea. And here's some animation showing the personalities of the characters and everything. And, like, what can we do?
Super cool. So what's the ultimate dream with, you said you wanted to start a studio and you're using this project as like an instigator of that. Is the dream is the dream attached to this project, or is it more attached to creating a studio and building something stable and building off of there?
Yeah, I think if this takes off, that's where it's going to head. And that's the goal, really. Like, that's the goal for me, to be able to build a studio either here in Korea, which would make a lot of sense. And, if things go super well, and maybe I come back to the US at some point, but, like, Korea's great. It could be there's a lot of awesome artists here that I would love to work with, and bring work to them, and kind of create a great community of artists working together to make stuff, and, like, have the space for people to work on what we're doing, you know, for as our gig, and then be able to develop and get their own stuff out there, and all of us working together to help do that. That's my dream.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're on your way. You have, you know, ties in the US with potential funding, and you have experience working with studios and a network in Korea where I think you told me before it's also much cheaper labor wise than
Oh,
in the
yeah, like
US
people
too.
have paid much less here. Yeah.
So potentially, you know, maybe it's the perfect mix of creating something amazing. Tell me, you know, I want to dig into your backstory, but tell me first, what is the stop motion animation scene like in Korea?
Man, there's a lot of people that are, you know, very, very talented artists here. It's it's just like, how to explain, there, you know, there's like little groups of people kind of all over the place. um I myself, like, I see them every once in a while, like at the Busan Film Festival. I'll go, like, you know, the friends I have that are working, that I work with, they have like little films that get in there, and I might have something to do with them a little bit here and there,
Yeah.
with those things. But yeah, as far as the scene, there's a lot of artists doing different styles and different things here that, you know, there's a lot of dreaming going on, you know, a lot of people that want to create stuff, but the the system here, like a business and animation, it doesn't really support it that well here.
Hmm.
So it for me, that's why I'm not really kind of focusing on trying to find work here. I'm focused on trying to bring work here, and to
Ah.
like bring a different understanding of like how the system can work, and what the work life can kind of, how it can exist a little differently than it normally does here.
So you said before you were working for a studio.
Mm.
Are there a bunch of stop motion studios, or because like in the US you have so many, you have Open the Portal and Leica and Stupid Buddy and Apartment D, et cetera, and Screen Novelties.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
in Canada you have like just a few, but all of us stop motion animators are like doing something else. But when a project comes around, we all crawl out of the cracks and work on that project. And then when it's finished, we all go back to our cracks. So
Yeah,
what
yeah.
is it like in Korea? Are there,
It's
because
a
you said
little
you were working for
different.
a studio.
Yeah, so there's one animation studio that I know that I haven't worked with anybody, and I haven't really worked with them, and I haven't really met anybody from there. I've talked to them briefly through emails, you know, that type of thing, but they're in Seoul. They're really cool. They do like
Hmm.
amazing work, but I haven't really had much contact with them. It's just, you know, kind of weird because it's not a huge country, but it's, you know, it's just language barrier really is what it comes down to. My Korean's not great, and the studio I worked at, there was a lot, you know, more people that spoke English, and like you know, that was easier to,
Yeah.
the owner of the studio worked in the US for 13 years or so, or yeah, so
So are these
yeah.
studios, they're like purely stop motion, consistent
Okay,
studios?
so yeah, the Coma, the one I was talking about in Seoul, is, as far as I know, I don't know, maybe they do some 2D stuff as
Hmm.
well. But the studio that I worked for had a section that was doing 2D before it became a stop motion studio.
Okay.
Um, and it's kind of like two different branches. Yeah, so when I moved to Korea in 2014, that was the very beginning, the first year of that studio that I worked for. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So it
know.
just started, and now I'm still in the city. I live in Gwangju. But they left and moved to another city, and I haven't really talked too much with there's the thing about in those 5 years, there was a lot of turnover. There's a lot
Hmm.
of turnover in the studios. Like, it's basically, it was basically like graduates coming in, working, getting burnt out, and then leaving. And
Hmm.
there wasn't there was just a handful of people that were there for that full 5 years that I was there.
Wow.
Yeah.
How big would you say the scene is? Like you have these two studios. Is it like they employ like 100 people, or are they like
No,
small
it's
scale,
much
like 5
smaller.
people?
The studio I worked for was like 20
Okay.
some people at max, like 25 or so, somewhere around there. I don't know the full size of Coma. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm just curious because like I know nothing. I'm just trying to get like
Yeah.
a picture of the scene. That's so
Yeah,
yeah.
they're small studios. Coma's mostly doing commercial work, and they're doing pitches. They create characters and trying to get that stuff picked up. Um, yeah, it's probably, I don't know. You think about Korea, it's the size of, it can fit inside of most states in the
Yeah.
US. So it's not like a huge country, like you can go north to south in pretty, in a day,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
yeah.
Gosh.
They,
Okay. So how did you end up in Korea? You said you were from Seattle. What's the story behind this big change in life?
yeah, yeah.
What did you
Well,
start off
since,
pursuing? Like, were you always trying to get into stop motion specifically?
um, yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, that's always what's kind of drawn stop motion and puppetry, like hand puppetry and stuff like that, which
Yeah.
I'm working on this show with Ryan, but I'm also developing another show that's a mix of stop motion and hand puppetry.
Nice.
Yeah, and um so I'm sorry, what's the question?
Take me back to
Oh
young
yeah,
Chris,
going back.
who's faced with a dilemma. Do I go to South Korea or do I stay in Seattle to
Oh
pursue
yeah.
stop motion?
So I was already doing stop motion in Seattle for
Yeah.
7 years, and
Wow.
the lease to our
Full time, 7 years full time stop motion.
yeah, trying to get that going. Yep,
Wow.
had a studio space, and depending on the project, I had up to 20 people working, and as little as me. At times, it was kind of a fun time. It was there was a lot of craziness, but after the 7 years, the landlord had raised the rent like a huge amount. We went from, I don't know, like $2,000 a month to like he was asking 6 or 7 at the time,
That'll
and
do
that
it.
was, yeah. So we were like, oh, we got to move, we got to find a space. And then my good friend of mine, Matt Manning, who's a stop motion animator, he had worked with this guy Takun Kim in New York years ago. They became friends working together on Celebrity Deathmatch for MTV.
Hmm.
And Tak was opening the studio here and contacted Matt and was like, hey, do you want to come here and help me get it started? And do you know anybody else that might be interested? And so he contacted me, and I was like, good timing. And this is something, Matt and I had kind of talked about wanting to like get out here or Japan, to work. And yeah, so it was a good opportunity.
So you
Yeah.
were just like, you know what, life in the States is all right, but this is a great opportunity to like start something fresh, be involved from the beginning, et cetera, et cetera. So what was that decision like to move away from everybody you've known, all your network, all of the work you'd built up, and then move to a country where you didn't know any of the language? Like, did you have hesitations? Like, or were you just like, I'm ready for something new, let's do this?
I was delusionally excited.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Um,
When did the
yeah.
delusion fade?
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of like, I was like, wow, great, I can work on a series. This is kind of what I wanted to do. And I get a chance to work in another country. South Korea seems awesome. Let's go check it out. I don't think I expected to be here as long as I am now. I don't think I was thinking that long term. But yeah, I was very excited to come here, and it definitely was very life-changing, and there was some hard choices to make. Like, you know, I had a girlfriend and I moved here, and that, you know, obviously didn't work out. It was not a good, yeah, that basically ended the relationship, which was a very difficult situation. Yeah, it was very life-changing. And like, you know, like just being here, even the first year, like keeping in contact with people and keeping the network up and going, I realized like how difficult this was. And like, you know, I still got like a couple little gigs a year that I would fly back for and work. But as the years went by, that kind of like became less and less and less and harder and harder
because like when a project shows up, Chris isn't just
around the corner anymore.
Around the corner to come work on this. You got to think about his flight, his timing, you know, all this stuff. That's crazy. So, you know, what projects, because you also, you know, what are some of those gigs? Because I know you worked on the Lego movie credits and some other cool stuff. Like, is that what you're talking about?
That,
or was that before?
I think that was before I left. One of the things I had a lot of fun working on was, it was a makeup ad for Two-Faced, and I got to work. It was Matt got me involved on that. We worked together on that, and that was for the product, the Peach palette. And it was just kind of like a very fun group of guys, you know, working with, and like just such an awesome team of people. And I felt really lucky to be a part of that. And it was just a really cool, whimsical project.
Yeah. So what projects have you worked on in Korea then? Because you mentioned you came for a series.
So the series, So when I first got here, the what I was told was that the project was going to be like a kids educational show, and it didn't really work out that way. It just kind of ended up being a show based on these like space characters. It was called Big Five. Yeah.
Big Five. I'm gonna look it up right now. Big Five.
No, I'm sorry. It was called, that was the second show. It was called Galaxy Kids. It's been a while.
So it was an English show produced in.
It was for the Korean audience. Yeah, it was picked up. I was animating in Korean, and you know, that had its own challenges. But basically, I was just, you know, working with a set of mouths, and kind of, I just had to learn to understand the sounds that I was hearing and how they would actually make those sounds.
Lip sync in another language.
Yeah, I was lip syncing in another language. Yeah, so like sometimes that could work, and other times it was like, yeah, no, that's not.
So what would happen? The director would come to you and be like, "This lip sync doesn't match," and you'd be like, "I don't know what to do," or they just take it.
Yeah. It was like at the beginning, before I could really understand the sounds, they would you know, map it out for me in Dragonframe. So
so they give you mouth charts.
We would just use the, you know, the sock puppet mouth chart that's built in.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
That's
easy.
Yeah.
So okay, so you've been in South Korea since 2014.
Yeah, fall. Yeah.
Wow, so almost 10 years. And you're specifically trying to bring work from the States, or I guess wherever.
I'm hitting
to North Korea. So, you know, what's the biggest challenge with staying connected when you're not around the corner anymore? You know, you have to put effort into figuring out what's going on. Like, do you have like an agent there? Do you have some like key contacts that help you out? Are you just constantly like messaging people? Like, how do you stay connected? It's
all on me, man. It's all independent. I'm trying to
do it. So like, what is something you do like on a regular basis to make sure you know what's going on and you don't miss opportunities?
yeah, I'm just doing research, online, like looking, just kind of see what's happening within the network. I subscribe to the animation magazine, and just calling and talking to friends and saying, hey, what's
Yeah.
up, and see what's going on, that
So
type of thing.
maybe I'll put you on the spot a little bit.
Yeah.
Besides Henry, what is the last thing that you brought from, I guess, the US and produced in
I'm
Korea?
working, yeah, I'm working with another client right now on a project that I don't really have permission to talk
There.
about as
No,
well.
no, yeah, you don't have to talk about it,
Yeah.
but I'm just curious about,
Yeah.
how did you establish that
Yeah.
connection in the first place?
So I'm also on Fiverr, and
Ah,
I've actually, gotten very few, but some good projects off
but wait,
there.
Fiverr is like, I want to spend nothing and get something, right? So like because stop motion
Yeah.
is expensive.
Exactly. And that is something that most people don't understand. And that's why it's been very few people. And I've actually had a few small agencies reach out to me on
Hmm,
there as
really?
well. Yeah. So it's been an interesting experience trying that out. Yeah, I've known, but they have different levels. They have like the regular Fiverr level, then they have the pro level, and they've just now, I still have to go back, and like I haven't really been on there for a little bit because I've been super
Yeah.
busy, but they've revamped their system, and I need to like completely redo my whole profile and everything on there to like get back in the algorithm. But I'm still getting, a few people a month,
Hmm.
contacting me about wanting to do projects, and more these people they have the money that they want to back up their project with.
Can I look
So
you up on Fiverr right now? Like, what do I look under?
it's probably just my name, I would think. Stop motion. If you look up just stop motion on there, I don't know
Yeah,
if I
I'm
would
just
pop
super
up.
curious that because this is interesting that this is
There's
uh
not a big community of people on there. I think most people stay off just because of the fact that it's going to be that 1 in a million shot that you get a job on there.
right. Because I was just wondering if this is like an actual way that to like, oh wow, Fiverr. I haven't been on Fiverr in years and it looks totally different.
Okay.
Chris Rodgers, stop motion. It looks super professional versus like back in the day, I was like, oh, no services found for your search. I don't know what I'm trying to look for. But
Just look up stop motion.
just
Yeah.
look up stop motion, you'll come up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because this is interestingly like a passive way to like put yourself available for work, I guess. There's a lot of Lego stuff. Oh my goodness, I know these guys. Interesting. Wow, I really haven't been on Fiverr in a while. I don't see you yet.
Yeah.
Seems like
There you
there's
go. I might not come up either because of the like I said, they just had installed another new system that I haven't updated yet. So I don't know. I don't know how people are still contacting me. It's weird.
but like I'm just wondering, oh wow, okay, because like so I'm looking at these price points, and this one's like, I will create a fun stop motion animation for your brand starting at $1,300, or I will
Mhm.
create creative stop motions for your social media starting at $800, or so it's not like you don't come on here expecting to pay nothing. It's like $5 basically. It's now turned into
Right.
like people actually with budgets coming here and saying like, oh, okay, I'm gonna like sig- give significant money towards
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, I've gotten one uh commercial job where it was like $10,000 for a
On
budget,
Fiverr. That's
which
amazing.
on Fiverr, yeah. So like
Yeah,
that was all right.
you need them as a
Yeah.
repeat client.
Yeah, yeah, that would be great. That would be great.
Yeah, interesting,
That was
interesting.
last year, and the commercial is just airing now. Like it's been on, yeah, it's on
Oh
television
wow,
now.
on
Yeah,
television. Oh nice,
yeah, in
congrats.
California. Yeah.
So like, what is your, looking at the past year, what does your work look like being completely independent and like working with people and scaling up and down and trying to, find projects from the US and, having your work out there? Like, how consistent has your work been?
Oh, it's been inconsistent. It's been a process of last year was when I started at the beginning of the year trying to figure out Fiverr and trying to build the space out here and get that all going. So it's been a work in progress. I'm just over a year of that now, and a year later, I now have work consistent that's going to take me through the rest of the year.
That's amazing.
And yeah,
That's so interesting that I had totally discounted Fiverr specifically, but just with it here, I'm like stuck on this Fiverr thing. But like within 1 year, you've gotten multiple projects for it, and then other stuff is like taking you through. That's awesome. What are like, why are you staying in Korea specifically instead of trying to get back to the US where the network is and friends and family still exist and stuff?
Yeah,
like,
well,
have you just kind of settled in Korea?
It's a nice place to be, man. That's a whole other conversation to have.
Yeah.
But like in kind of like the shortened version, it's like, I have healthcare here no matter what.
Fair.
Like that's and I have a family. I have my wife's here, she's working here as a teacher, and I have a son. And going back to the US, if I did that now, what am I going back to? I'd have to find a job, and like, how long is that job going to last? Like how do I, it's things like that you have to like kind of think of, is like, how do I, it's not just taking care of me, it's taking care of my family.
Yeah.
And so it makes more sense to stay here. If the day comes and everything is going well and it makes sense to dive back into the struggle of what that is to exist in the US, then then I can do that. But
yeah, you're probably just watching from the outside all the politics and everything that's going on, just like we do in Canada, being like, what is going on there?
Yeah, it's living in Korea is eye-opener in a lot of ways. Like the violence that happens in the US, impossible to happen here. Like there's nobody, very, 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 very few people are allowed to have guns, and nobody's allowed to have guns like in their house or anything here. So like, that's a question I always get, is like, why is there so much gun violence in the US? And
yeah,
I don't need to get too much into
we're
it.
on a podcast chat.
Yeah.
Bringing out those controversial issues. Well, okay, let me ask you, how do you feel internally, growing up in the US, starting your career there, taking a big risk? You said you had to go through some tough times. You broke up with your girlfriend. You kind of had to leave everything behind, start fresh in Korea, work for this company, go off on your own. Now you started a family, and now you're building something from scratch now, when you've kind of done that so many times already in your life. How does it feel?
It feels, I mean, on one side of it, I wish I was 20 years younger right now, but
don't we all?
But it feels good to kind of have this like positive growth going on, like it's like finally kind of thing, and something is breaking through, and I feel like there's a lot of potential here, and that's what's keeping me here, is like my ability to exist and work and push forward in a safer environment here than I could do in the US right now.
Interesting.
Independently.
What do you mean safer environments?
Well, like all the systems in the US, right? Yeah. Like specifically like healthcare, like I don't have to worry about that. Like they provide healthcare for everyone. So even if you're unemployed, you have healthcare and full coverage. There's not like all these different, it's all government kind of, controlled. And I just pay, $150 a month. And like a trip to the doctor might cost me, with a prescription and seeing the doctor and everything, $4 or $5.
Oh, wow.
Like,
So
yeah,
are you a resident, or is that like, because I'm just,
if you have a visa here to stay in Korea, then you have to be a part of the system. And usually if you have a job, but right now my visa, the way I'm able to stay here is because my wife is here.
ah,
I'm in the process of, that's another thing, is like, I want to get on my own visa again. I was working for that company, had my own visa, and I need to figure that out and see if I can get one by starting a business.
yeah.
There's an artist visa. I'm just starting to do the research on all that and getting that figured out for next year. Yeah.
Interesting. So if you bring more business to Korea from the US, you'll get on a visa, and that'll enable you to stay longer
If
versus your
I
wife's visa.
think that there's a big startup community here. Like the mindset, like Seoul has a huge community, and it's like kind of branching out, and yeah, a lot of people are coming here to like start businesses. So that's where I'm in the process of figuring all that out.
So like, you've mentioned you're building something, and you've got some exciting projects going on with the TV show, and like you want to hire people. Like what is the state you're trying to, reach? Like what is like comfortable, not starting from scratch, I guess, Chris. What is that feeling? What is that like?
What would it be like? What does it look like?
Yeah, what does it look like, and
looks
what does it feel like?
Yeah, it looks like, I'm able to hire and employ people. We have a project going, and like it's going somewhere, and we have a fan base, and like, we're creating something. That's the thing, is we're working, both the shows that I'm focused on is at kids educational. So that's important to me, and like,
Oh,
I
nice.
really want to have that as a focus for a while, and push that through to develop that, and work with a bunch of different people that have that want as well.
So
Yeah.
what does it feel like, different than what you feel like right now, what you just described to me like 5 minutes ago?
It would, it would like, I guess the feeling, like, I'm not sure I understand what you're trying to ask
I
here.
just mean like,
Like,
because running a business can be very stressful, and you're always looking for the next project. And, it's like, do you hope to reach a state where you feel stable and secure, and this is like
oh,
what you're doing? Or is there like an other goal that you're reaching, thousands of kids with education, and that feels like very significant to you? Like, what is the feeling that's propelling you to get into
yeah,
as
okay.
a state?
All right. So what are, it's kind of goes back to like the goals of what I'm looking to do, and where I want to go. Like, I want to create an animation community here. I would
Oh,
love to, like, the business being that, like hiring Koreans, maybe bringing people in from other countries, because one of the projects that I'm developing is a show that deals with many cultures and many languages. So I would, need to be working with people to, like voice actors specifically from, different countries and stuff. And yeah, so like, the goal is to like, can I create a studio? I want to create a studio, like, imagining having a studio, how many people, what's going on within that space, that's all very exciting. Like,
yeah.
doing all that work and having all those people working together really drives me. Like seeing this kind of in a small form now, and like it growing in its incremental ways is invigorating. It's awesome.
Totally. I love that. And like, one such as yourself, coming from a lot of different experiences, you can kind of piece together, the best parts that you've experienced, and try to build the optimal community around what you're doing going forward, I think.
That's my goal. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping that I can do. Yeah.
Nice. I love that. I'm wondering, we've chatted about, where you came from, how you ended up here, what the scene is like, what you're doing now, like, this life you've built. Why does it all have to be stop motion? Like, why can't it be, you said childhood education is important to you. Why can't it be 2D, or why can't it be through books, or like, why can't it be through something else? Why does it have to be stop motion specifically?
Well, for me, that's the stop motion and hand puppetry. Those are the two, and
And
like
hand
mixing that.
puppetry.
And yeah. Those are the two things that I love to work with
Yeah.
specifically. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And if I can mix in 2D, that's great. Like, the ultimate goal would be just to have like a project that mixes everything, and has a little bit of live action and, stop motion and hand puppetry. Like, I love what the director Jan Stankmeyer has done with his feature films, and like to do something similar, but have it more geared towards kids, I
Yeah, I
think
was gonna
is
say.
exciting. Yeah.
His stuff is more
But
geared towards.
yeah, it's geared towards adults for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that what his style is it's the mix, right? It's a mix of puppetry and stop motion and live action is what I see as like a kind of underdone. Like, there's not enough people doing that. Like,
Well,
I would love to see more of that.
It's so difficult to sell specifically. Like, people don't know enough about it. Like, even when I'm pitching shows in stop motion, the number one question I get is like, oh, can we do this in 3D or 2D? Because A, we don't know how much stop motion costs. B, we already have these capabilities. C, stop motion's a hard sell. D, give me some examples of shows that are virally successful that are in stop motion. Like, there's so many like cards against stop motion specific, and I guess puppetry too specifically, that people just aren't willing to take risks. And then of course, like, every Christmas commercial wants to be in the style of Rudolph, which is stop motion. So it's super ironic.
I feel like from the time I started in school till now, I've always heard stop motion is dying, stop motion is dying. But like, if you look out there, it's growing. Like, there's just more and more people across the world that you can see now with the internet. Like, there's a lot of people in the world doing stop motion, and there's a lot of projects being done, I think, more and more, and I'm very optimistic about it. Yeah, it's obviously, people think of 2D and 3D as being more simple to do, but I don't know, like, budgetary wise, like, is it really that much more expensive than 2D or 3D? Like, I guess it depends on the quality. I feel like you can get a higher quality for the same budget in stop motion than what you could get with 3D. I mean, 3D has grown a lot, but it's still, the textures and everything, and just the movement of like cheap 3D is so annoying to me. Like, it's
right. Yeah.
It's just so automated and like unnatural. Like, at least with like stop motion, somebody's moving it, and even if it's not like, it doesn't have to be perfectly smooth, but it just, there's something about, for me, it's like, knowing that it's a real object, it's a real thing. Like, it's, when somebody sees stop motion, it's almost an extension of being human, because it's a physical thing. And that I think is the attraction, is that it's a thing that's alive, but it's not really alive, and that illusion is exciting for people. It stirs their imagination to how far can that go, and that's what gets me. It's like, how alive can I create this character? How alive can I make a hand puppet look and feel, and get people excited about that? Like, it's a joy to me to do that.
I mean, that's all music to my ears. I say the exact same things. And like, even with hand puppetry, like, it's just a hand. That's it. But it's like, you get the movements right and the mouth right and the googly eyes right, it becomes amazing. Like, obviously, like Sesame Street and Jim Henson, like, push that forward.
Inspiration for me, for sure.
Yeah, amazing. And even like when I'm stop motion animating, I constantly feel like I'm just like handling a bomb that's going to go off at any moment. And it's like the delicacy of just physics
Yep.
and you're able to make it move is just like it's just so satisfying to see something played back that could have fallen apart or whatever if you sneezed at any second, and you look and play it back and you're like, wow, it's alive.
Right, right. And try doing that in a place where you have cats trying to like jump up on the set.
Oh no, your cats.
Yeah, like, that type of thing. And then just, being in a super tiny space where, I basically move the wrong way and I can run into a light, or I could, hit the camera, and it's just like,
oh, yeah, I've done that. Or my dog isn't allowed in the room anymore when I'm stop motion animating because he hit the tripod once, and then I had to spend like 4 hours trying to put it back. It was like, no more.
Yeah. Yeah.
But cats, oh no. Well, I guess at least they're a little bit delicate with how they walk around things, but then they're just like pushing your puppet off of the.
Yeah, I wake up in the morning, and if I'm like, I can't, some shots are long, so I have to like leave stuff overnight, and I wake up in the morning and I have to de-hair a puppet because the cat's been up there that night before rubbing up on it and everything. And it's just like, no.
That's hilarious. Actually, on purpose, I make sure there's some of my dog's hair just gets everywhere, but I always leave some in the set somehow just for my own enjoyment, to be like, oh, there's one of his hairs like in the background.
Yeah, I've done similar things like that through the years. Yeah, my favorite thing is always when like little bugs get in there, and I always leave the little bugs. Yeah, like if you're on a set and like a fly comes in, or like something's crawling around, I'm like, yes, keep it in there, get that shot in there.
Yeah,
get them like moving around a little bit.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, we've talked about a lot of stuff. Is there anything that you wanted to touch on that we didn't quite hit? From your experience and people listening to this, and all the other people in stop motion listening to this, curious about what you do and what's going on in Korea and how to get your show going.
It's just I'm just getting the studio going. Like, I don't know, I'm available for work. I'm available to.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, I know, exactly right. Like, it's I'm not sure, I've got this little space, so I'm working in it and making things happen. And soon on my Instagram page, Rock Paper Scissors Puppets, that's like my company kind of name that I'm going with. And there's going to be lots of updates coming soon. Yeah.
Ooh, excellent. I can't wait. Some of the projects that you've been working on, you're going to be able to post. Amazing.
Yeah, things are going to getting posted very soon.
You've already done so much cool stuff. The first thing I ever saw of yours was that dinosaur. I think it's like a carpet
cave commercial. That's the one
commercial.
I did on Fiverr.
The dinosaur, like the puppet itself is like pristine and amazing, and then the way you animated it was just like chef's kiss, like so good.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, the puppet is great. All we had was the logo as the design to base the puppet off of. So we had like basically one still image I gave my puppet maker here, and they did an awesome job. She's amazing. Yeah,
love that. So you really obviously have quite a network of people to work with then. So like when you get a job, you just ramp up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And they all work out of your house?
No, they have my friends have a studio space that they're doing their own projects in, and I hire them to make puppets and potentially do animation if I'm doing stuff here and I can give them work, then that's the way it's going to go, right now. Or if they have something and they need me, we kind of go back and forth with that. And as things get bigger, then we'll get a space, and I'll get a bigger space, and we'll all be in it together. And that's hopefully going to happen soon.
Fingers crossed. I mean, I'd love to do an update sometime afterwards, and you can tell me how that whole experience went. That would be awesome.
Yeah, maybe we can do it in a year. We'll see.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share as we're wrapping up?
I think that's it.
That's fine. Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Terry.
Yeah, you've like scratched an itch in my brain, because like I love hearing what how stuff is going on in different countries. And you're the first person in South Korea that I've talked to. And so now I feel like I have a little bit more insight there, and that's great. And best of luck with everything you're doing. I can't wait to see more updates from you.
Thanks, man. Yeah, let's keep in contact.
For sure.
Keep chatting with you.
Yeah. And if you're listening and you want to reach out or follow Chris's work, you can check out his Instagram, which is rock, paper, scissors, puppets. And I'll include that link in the description of this chat. So please check that out. And that's all for now. Thank you so much for listening. Okay, bye. The music for this podcast was composed by Will Farmer and the graphics by Daniel Abensauer. I encourage you to look them up if you enjoyed their work.